ค So, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I noticed that some of you guys moved from the other section to this one. So thank you very much for being here and listening to us. It's a great pleasure to introduce this session about health innovation. Actually, it's more about innovation and the applications in the health session. And we do have here some really nice people to speak with us. So we have Professor Blade Catali from MIT, Luis Gondin from Johnson. We have here Professor Andre. They are both, the three of them are online, and I have the pleasure to have here nearby me Gustavo from Tata Consulting. So thank you very much for being here. And I would like to start this section, letting the guys introduce themselves. So I would lend the word to, how do we prefer to go? Maybe we go alphabetically, we go for distance. So I don't know. So let's start maybe with Blade, that is in Boston. It's far from São Paulo. Then we go to Luis, that is in Miami, a little bit closer. Then Andre, and then Gustavo. Let's go like that. All right, perfect.
Sounds fine. Okay. So you can hear me okay? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. So, and how many people are in the room? Can we get a sense about what's happening there?
So we have here about 10 people. Yeah.
Great. I can see everyone. Okay.
And online we have more people watching online. So we have a different audience here.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So my background's a little bit interesting. I teach at MIT and I consult. So I teach undergraduates in the School of Engineering about innovation, design thinking, and leadership together. And I consult to help companies and organizations become more innovative very quickly by being able to assess individuals, by being able to train incredibly quickly using a rigorous methodology that takes innovation away from being something that is about how you feel or lots of yellow sticky notes, and makes it very practical and very simple to follow rigorous tools and techniques, so that people who are already good at innovating can externalize their ideas to others in a way they can understand. And anyone who doesn't know anything about innovation can start using tools very simply to be able to use innovation practices at their office. And my background was originally in human factors, so engineering and psychology at the undergraduate level. And then I worked for many years, for 25 years, I worked in industry in different environments, things like speech recognition systems, search and information access systems, cybersecurity, designing the first social robot for the home, smart speakers, and other technologies. So I've been working for 25 years and teaching for 18 years. And because of that mixture, at the same time, I'm able to understand the academics of what's supposed to happen, and then apply it to industry to see what actually happens, and find out from industry what we need to do to make things work better and bring it back to the academics. So that mixture of having to suffer academically and suffer in business has given me unique insights about how we work with our customers now to make it fast, actionable, and execution-focused innovation.
Great, awesome. And by the way, Blade is a really good friend of mine, so it's a pleasure to have you here, Blade. Yeah. So, Luis, can you introduce yourself as well?
Sure. I'm Luis Gondin. I'm originally from Brazil, living here in the US for the past 7 years, in New York, and now I'm in Miami, so big shift. Also from careers, so I used to work for Ambev, that probably you guys know in Brazil, that became AB InBev, and I was leading global initiatives to the company, and I was there for 20 years. And for the past 5 months, I joined Johnson & Johnson, to Janssen, to take care of everything related to Latam in terms of technology. It's a new industry for me, completely new, but the things that we need to do and the things that Blade was talking about, for example, the mindset, the innovation, the creativity, and how we're going to be reaching more and more our patients, that's part of the creed of Johnson & Johnson, that brings tremendous purpose to everybody that works here. And that's one of the reasons that I joined the company. I believe that we are in this path of really becoming a more agile, a more innovative, a company that will reach much more patients in the next few years. We have like a tremendous pipeline of new things that we are doing here to really make sure that everybody's gonna have the ultimatum treatments for their disease. So again, I'm really responsible for technology, but everything that's gonna go beyond that, and how we're gonna apply technology and how we're gonna apply innovation to bring this mix between the business, technology, and everything that we're gonna be bringing to the patients is something that really puts me like in the sky to do so. And I really believe that we are in the right path. So once again, thanks for the invite, Durão. Really glad to be here with you all and share whatever we are doing here that makes sense for you to hear.
Thank you very much, Luis. It's also a pleasure to have you here, especially considering your background and all the evolution. And by the way, Luis was also a student from Blade, so we are connected here in different terms. So I'm gonna lend the word to Professor André, who is a colleague and a friend of mine here from the university.
Hello, thanks. My name is André Santana. I'm professor at Insper. I've been professor in research since 2014. And my research line is about computational thinking and how to introduce real world problems in higher engineering education, and to connect the students with society to try to solve it by a co-design process. And about health technologies, I've been leading an initiative with Universidade of São Paulo here in Brazil to try to help physiotherapists in the process to follow up the natural history about heart diseases in neuromuscular field based on data and information technologies. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, André, and thank you again very, very much, Gustavo, for being here. So Gustavo is a life science director at Tata Consulting. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We have a lot of Tata consultants here as well, so thank you very much for being here. And Gustavo, please, if you could introduce yourself.
Thanks a lot, Durão. Thanks a lot. First of all, thanks for the invitation, the opportunity to exchange information with such good audience and good people here. My name is Gustavo Campos, as you mentioned before. So I'm Director for Life Sciences and Healthcare in TCS for Latam, actually. My background is in telecom market. So when I worked 15 years in Telefónica before TCS, after that I came to TCS to help telecom customers as well. And in the last, after that I had the opportunity to handle some CPG customers, and in the last 1 year and a half, I'm supporting and I'm helping customers for life sciences and healthcare. So that's the idea. The idea is support customers on having better lives to their customers also. By the way, J&J Johnson is one of my biggest account, actually the biggest global accounts in TCS. Thanks for that. Thanks Blade. Thanks Luis, André, and Durão. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. As you see, guys, everyone here is connected, so it's wonderful to have this kind of audience. It's wonderful to have this kind of people speaking together and get together. So this session is going to be a little bit different from the other ones. So we are not going to have a presentation, but we're going to have a round table, a discussion table here between all of us. And I would like to start, Blade, if you could introduce the topic of innovation and what is, in your opinion, the concept of innovation and why companies fail to innovate? What is the secret key? Let's start with this easy question.
Yeah, very simple, lightweight question. Okay. I guess the first thing is that innovation is not invention. So coming up with an idea is an invention, but creating value from that idea of some sort is innovation. So when you patent something, you become an inventor, but you haven't done anything with it necessarily. When you create a product that you sell, you've created economic value. Other kinds of value exist as well, not just economic. People think about economic value a lot because it's how businesses run. But there's also other kinds of value. In a government, you might create educational value, or you might create security. That's a value. So whatever you do, whenever you're creating value from an invention, that's innovation. A company that just decides to sell coffee mugs that already exist in the same way everyone else is doing it is not innovating. They're being entrepreneurs, perhaps. They're starting a new company. They're finding their different market. They're finding a fit for customers and products and service opportunities, but they aren't necessarily innovating, even though they are making money. So we talk about taking an invention, a new thing, and creating value from it as the definition of innovation. Why do most companies fail at doing it? There are lots and lots of reasons. They fail for different reasons. Often what we see in the companies that we talk to, they might fail because it's a big company that's been doing things in a certain way for a long time. It's hard to shift. It's hard to make changes in a big company. And some companies want to make those changes, but they don't have the muscles, the skills to do those changes easily. Other companies are very, very quick. They're agile. They know how to move quickly and adapt to conditions and to place the right big bets. And the way they do that is by always challenging the assumptions, always trying to figure out what can we challenge that's being done in a certain way, but do it in a different way. Look at a company like Apple that's been able to be innovative for such a long time. To do that, the company needs to be built to be innovative consistently. They opened up stores when everyone else was closing their stores. People thought they were crazy. They're like, that's stupid. We're closing stores. Apple's crazy. But Apple knew that to have an experience with the equipment was what's going to get you to buy it, to understand them deeply, not just by reading the back of a box and looking for fastest processors or something. In fact, at an Apple store, if you go there, the laptops are set up just like what I'm here on. And they're set up so they kind of look like this. And it's so awkward that you would touch it and bring it back. And they do that deliberately. So the first experience you have is to do something, which is to touch it. And it's something so easy. Then you feel the machine and they get you involved in the experience. So a lot of companies fail to innovate because they aren't set up to do it. It's hard to change. And other companies fail to innovate because they don't spend enough time thinking about the problems. They just say, look, what's that company doing over there? We need to be like them. And so we need to start copying what they're doing. Instead of saying, well, we know what the solution is and we can start thinking about the solution, but let's think about the problem just as long as we think about working on the solution. Let's spend a lot of time in the problem space to deeply understand it and how we're going to benefit all our stakeholders internally and externally. I think that's the couple of failure modes we see the most.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Blade. And just to explain to the audience and especially to the online audience, we are not crazy looking at the left. So there is a projector here and we are looking to your projections at the left here. So we are not looking anywhere else. So just to explain to the audience that is watching us online. So thank you very much, Blade, for the explanation. And I would like to add to this description. Actually, I would like to ask for Gustavo and Luis to jump in the discussion to say a little bit about what your companies see as the innovation process and what is the ideas that can be joined with the Blade explanation and how can we move and what do you guys see as the problems about applying those kind of things in your corporations? Your choice. So anyone who wants to drop in, just drop in the discussion.
Sure, I can jump in very quickly here. Of course, like Blade already explained everything, and as you said, he was my professor, so I don't have much to contribute here. Just on the lens of the organization, let's say on the organizations that I used to work and the one that I'm working right now, I think exactly what Blade was describing, that as when you are such a big company, you have already a lot of muscle and it's tough for you to change the dynamics of everything that's going on, right? So having this ability to put some new framework, the organization is always going to try somehow to expel that, to push that away from what they're doing. They tend to see this as like I don't know, like as a virus, right? So the antibodies try to put you away of that. So it's very tough to create these things. That's why it's important to have in the organization the sponsorship from top to bottom in a way that there will be some protection for people that will be doing that, because otherwise these always the areas that are the ones that people tend to cut very fast, right? Because they don't see value in the short term, and companies are always looking for value in the short term for the next quarter. And innovation not necessarily is going to be just incremental. The incremental innovation you can find is probably the benefits in the next few quarters. But if you're looking for something really new, something transformational, something that will disrupt even yourself, even your company, you need to put like an effort and consistency. I think the word is consistency. How you're going to be working in the organization needs to bring that to the table. So it's really indeed very tough. But I believe that at least here in Johnson, for the past 5 months, I've seen that we are going this direction to make sure that we put some extra effort, people, budget for us to doing that, never lose the sight of that. And of course, the majority of the organization is thinking about the next quarter, and that's natural, and that's how it needs to be. So we need to make sure that we don't lose the sight of the innovation, but we make sure that we also focus on the short term. That's what I've seen here.
Okay, very good. You guys hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. I'll give you a glance how TCS understands innovation. Actually, so TCS understands that innovation comes to impact lives and help people in their quality of life also, right? And after that, I'll give you a glance in 4 points that we understand in healthcare, in life sciences, and how technology can address these points. When you go to this specific market, life science and healthcare, you see that customers, individual consumers, and also healthcare professionals, they are looking for some personalized for their lives, wellness and care, and companies are need to be prepared for that, for innovate in order to meet their expectations. So I'll give you four areas that we want to approach. First area is the customer experience. So actually, companies are working on reducing the time that patients are handling with their problems, right? Companies need to do that. Also, another point I want to bring is the drug discovery. Nowadays, it's much more faster to bring some drugs to the market, for example. And companies are using technology, advanced technology for that also, along with innovation. One example is the vaccine, right? COVID-19 vaccine was developed much more faster than some years ago. Another topic is supply chain and manufacturing. Supply chain needs to be much more active, much more resilient, much more sustainable also. And manufacturing would be more customized, actually. And the fourth point, the last point that I want to bring here is regarding the technologies that we have to support all these points, right? So we have many technologies today to support as IoT, RFID, cloud, machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc. And we need to look for a good combination between these technologies in order to help our customers. An example here also, combination between, for example, IoT and augmented reality for maintenance of the medical equipment, medical devices, etc. Nowadays, with this right and good combination, you can give this maintenance in remote locations, for example, in places with high temperature, low visibility, and etc. So that's how TCS is addressing these points using technology and supporting our customers. So
that is amazing to see these applications of different innovation processes, both in Johnson and also in TCS. So that's awesome. And I think one of the things that you guys we're talking here is about the process of creating this innovation ambient and this innovation culture, and to use and Luis said about the top-down support from the companies, and you also mentioned it, how you at TCS manage to foment these different kinds of innovation processes in customer experience, drug discovery, and so on. And what I would like, actually, Blade, if you could also jump in this discussion, because I think that all this talk is connected with the idea of the culture of innovation. So how do you see this idea of culture of innovation, and how do companies can actually implement this culture of innovation?
Sure. So we've done a lot of research on this, and really the culture of innovation comes down to three things. Two on the individual level and one in the group level. Everybody needs to have innovation skills. That's rather invention skills. You need to know how to invent new concepts. And it's a process you can teach. It's as simple as research, design, testing, and doing it iteratively. But there are ways, of course, you can do it better and better. You need to have those skills. You also need some leadership skills as well, because having an invention, again, is not innovation. So you need to be able to invent a new idea and have leadership skills to get other people, other teams excited, working with you, creating that end goal, that vision, working towards it, and then getting it to the customers and creating real value. That's not a one-person thing. That's the skills. Everybody needs to have the confidence to do it, because we know from a lot of research that people who are more confident in their skills to be inventors, to be innovators, and to be entrepreneurs are actually much more successful. So lots of recent work on self-efficacy, so self-confidence to perform a task. That's super important as well. You need to know how to do it, have the confidence to do it. And the last part is the group part, which is psychological safety. Now, psychological safety has a certain kind of definition that people think about when they think about what those words mean. It's not that you're getting a warm hug from your boss and you feel safe saying things. It's that it's a very rigorous definition that having a shared belief in your organization, that asking a question, challenging a result, seeking feedback, and iterating to a solution is expected. You're expected to challenge results. You're expected to ask questions. You're expected to seek feedback, and you're expected to iterate. That creates psychological safety. And you can measure that very simply. All these things, we've developed the measurement tools for innovation skills and for the self-efficacy, but there's other research that we're leveraging for psychological safety. And then if you get all three together, you can get a culture of innovation going very quickly. Because at that point, people will challenge what's happening. And when you're challenging things and it's expected you're going to challenge, I don't feel personally attacked. I don't feel like I have to defend it differently. We start working better and faster and open. And when everyone has the same tools, the same language to innovate, then they go faster. Because we can say things that make sense to us very quickly, like who might be an internal stakeholder that could prevent the development or the execution of what we're doing. That's a very easy thing to think about if you know to think about it. But if you don't, then you don't share the language. It's very hard to talk with other people. So you get the basic language across the company to everyone, so no one is a detractor. You give skill set improvements to many people, so they start working with these skills and getting confidence and infecting their teams positively. And then you get a few people to really help foster this behavior everywhere and to check in and see how are each of the organizations doing. Is there psychological safety? Are some leaders more effective at creating the safety than others? And how do we improve that? That's really what we see as creating a culture of innovation.
Awesome. And I think that all this speak about culture of innovation, and it's really interesting. And I would like to divide the comments on three parts. Each one of the innovation parts of the parts of the innovation culture that you has just mentioned. And I would like to start with the innovation abilities and capabilities. And one of the questions, both to Gustavo and Luis, is how do you see the abilities of innovation from your team, and what are the main points that you guys do to improve the innovation capabilities of the team? And if you guys could share an example about a case that you didn't have the ability or the capability, and you had to go look for in the market to get a new people inside the company, or maybe to partnership with different partners, as for example, universities and other agents of innovation.
Sure. Yeah, no, I just would like to comment on one thing that Gustavo was talking before I comment on this, that the thing about COVID-19 vaccine, right? Everything that was done like in a short period of time, and the thing that I was mentioning about consistency. So again, because of the paradigm that we had that we could not do, and because of the urgency that we had, we did. And now what is happening is that most of the companies are backing to what everybody's talking. Let's come back to what is normal, right? And that's the part that I was talking about, consistency. So everybody's coming back to their silos. So trying to do the thing that's the way it was before, and saying that we just did that because it was an exception. So then bureaucracy, barriers, and so on. This is part of things that normally stop innovation. That's normally what try to kill innovation. And we need to come back to exactly COVID-19 period that we were able to break these barriers and go fast and nimble to make sure that we keep consistency, and then we change exactly what was done before with tons of bureaucracy. So having said that, the example and the thing that I was to answer your question about innovation, how we look for, I think the first thing is to make sure that people knows what they are talking about, right? So again, that's why I studied with Blade. That's why I brought Blade and a couple of other students to Insper to understand a little bit about framework, about methodology, really about understanding the concept of innovation. And we need also to measure the organization to understand the level of the people that we have, because we need to tailor-made whatever we're going to bring to them. So there is people that are more into innovation, they are more innovative because of mindset, because of whatever they already did in their life. And there is people that are more execution. That's fine. We need to have both, and we need to have execution within innovation as well. So it's a mix, and we need to understand that. And then the first thing then is make sure that people understand this. The second thing is to really make sure that we know that we are not able to do everything inside of our house, right? So the concept of open innovation, how to partner with academia, institutes, VCs, startups, and so on, is something that we need to do. And it's something that we are fostering to make sure that we have these connections in a way that whatever is not inside of our domain, we're going to partner with someone that knows that, and then we're going to bring that to the organization, because the ultimate goal is to provide to our patients more access, new technologies, and really make sure that we go this in a way that we provide access to everybody. So the second thing is really about how we make sure that we create these partnerships. And then the third one for me is really put ourselves into a mode that we test more. It's not about failing fast, it's about learning fast. Whatever we learn that we can accomplish in the near future, I think it's what we are trying to do here. That's really about test more, test fast, make sure that whatever we find in any place of the organization, we're going to be doing this in a good way. So those are the three things that I would highlight to your question, Duro.
Yeah. Also, Luis touched a point that I want to highlight. We have innovative people in the company, and we have people that are not innovative. This mix is very important, and that and how to manage this both things is the key of success. I would say, the governance of this mix is complicated, but it's like handle diversity, and we are learning. We are learning with this process, specifically for build capabilities inside TCS. What we are doing, let me give you some highlights on that. So Ralph yesterday mentioned something about this TCS co-innovation network that we have, which brings a 360 degree view of innovation, actually bringing the different worlds to the ecosystem, like startups, like academia, and many other parts of the universities, research, corporate, along with all the together in all the ecosystem, putting the customer in the center of this ecosystem and trying to help customer to solve problems. So this is one thing that we are doing, along with the partnership that we have, for example, with universities. We have partnership with 59 universities around the globe. Insper is one of our main partners for that. Also with startups, we have partnership with more than 2,500 startups around the globe. And also a concept that we have, a brand actually that we have, which is TCS Space, that brings all TCS capabilities in terms of innovation to the ecosystem actually. And apart from that, we have TCS Spaceport, which are digital and physical innovation hubs that brings this philosophy, this TCS space to the life, to the reality. So we have this kind of TCS Spaceports in several cities in the world. For example, Tokyo, New York, Amsterdam, Pittsburgh, and Toronto also. So in TCS Spaceports, we can connect our global stakeholders, our capabilities, experiences from the market, etc. And it's how we are trying to build this capability innovation. Right?
Awesome, that is perfect. And can anyone hear me? I'm not gonna wear a microphone. Is that fine? All right, perfect. So I think both of you guys brought really interesting points that I would like to jump in the conversation and add some more details and ask for some more details from your side. And also, Blade, feel free to join the conversation and give your experience about this fact. But you both guys said about the ability of going to the operational vision of the company and the innovation part of the company. So I'd like to call that the ambidextry of the company. So a company, if a company wants to survive, you must have these both sides to work with cost reduction at the same time as innovation. And one of the things that I think it is related to the topic about innovation culture is how can we manage to have these both sides working together and speaking to each other in order to create this innovation culture. And Blade has also a term for that, that is the execution and leadership skills against innovation skills, right, Blade? And we have this combination of how the people can work together and create and improve the innovation culture. And one of the things that you guys also brought to the conversation is about this idea of open innovation and the connection between different innovation agents and how they can actually work together to create these new concepts and how they can bring together these capabilities of innovations. So one of the things that I was wondering if you guys could jump in the conversation is how this ability and this ambidextrous capability can both help and actually go against the innovation process and the innovation culture. And I would like to start the discussion if Blade could join us, explaining a little bit more about these different types of people in an organization and how we can manage to have these people working together.
Sure. So when we look at the organization and we can take our assessment, give it to an entire organization, plot everyone, we notice some interesting trends. There are, of course, people who are not skilled at the invention skills, and they're not skilled at the leadership for innovation skills. That makes sense. Often junior employees or certain people in certain environments. And some people are very, very skilled on both axes. They're often leading a lot of groups, and sometimes we see the highest scores we've ever seen are people leading advanced technology groups within an organization who've been doing it for many years successfully. But we also notice there's some interesting patterns. The danger zones of innovation are when people have one skill overly developed and the other skill underdeveloped. For example, if you are very, very strong at invention, but weak on the leadership skills, very, very weak, you're often someone who can solve really, really hard problems. And you're very valuable at a company. You've been there for 10, 12, 15 years, solving really hard problems that no one else can solve. And you've come up through the ranks and you're very, very talented. But often these people are jerks and they're hard to work with and they're difficult. And they say things to their colleagues like, we told the executives that a year ago and they didn't listen to us. And they're right. They told them a year ago and they weren't listened to because they weren't advocating. They weren't advocating in a way that the people understood how to take action. They weren't creating vision in a way that they could have people take action. And they don't like the leadership skills. And they think that anyone who's trying to show their vision, but maybe not show it in the perfect, complete way, is marketing. And marketing is somehow like lying. And so they don't like any of this stuff. They stay away from it. As a result, they're very unhappy, but they're very, very talented. And what you do is you have to give them leadership skills and show them why it's valuable and how their ideas can become real and how it can affect change positively. Then they soften up and become very, very useful. On the other side, it's the exact opposite. People who are strong on this leadership skill, but terribly weak on invention. As a result, they're the kinds of people who tell their boss, okay, boss, over the next year, we're going to make a list of 10 things that I'm going to do and execute successfully. And if I do that, I get my bonus, right? The boss says yes. So they say, okay, they do all 10 things and they make sure they do it because they want their bonus, even if it means not doing the right thing. It means that they often can't understand how to model uncertainty, how to model ambiguity in a way that's useful. And if you can't stand uncertainty and ambiguity, you don't innovate. You just do the same thing you were doing before, maybe a slightly better way, more optimized. So these people can become really dangerous in an organization because they kill innovation before it starts. But they're often very effective and they can advocate very well. They're listened to, they make things understandable, and they can put structure around things. So they really can hurt an organization, but they look like they're getting a lot accomplished, just the wrong things. So those people need to be able to model uncertainty, to model ambiguity, and to work with innovation teams and understand how that process works in order to be effective.
Great. So how do you guys see these ideas inside your companies, and how do you manage to go through these combinations of different types of people? And most of that, how can you guys, when working together, because we know that Johnson has one core competence that is related to health, and Tata has a lot of core competencies, but more related to technology. How do the companies work together knowing that they have these different backgrounds, and how does the partnership between the two companies work so well together in order to manage all these kind of different people working together with different backgrounds and different capabilities of innovation?
Yeah, I can get this one. Yeah, we are still learning, Durão. To be very honest with you, we are still learning. I think the secret, as I mentioned before, is to deal with diversity, because it's diversity itself. Since we, as I mentioned before, we have people with people not innovative and people innovative in the company, as we have different people in the company. So you need to deal with diversity, and this comes since the beginning, right? When education can help in this process also. So I think the secret of success that in our partnership, for example, with Johnson, is to deal with diversity itself. It's not another way, and to be honest with you, we are still learning. It's not an easy process, but we are still learning in order not to kill this innovation process that Blade was mentioned. It's something that we, of course, deal with certain uncertainty.
Perfect.
Yeah. To complement, that's what I would say is that indeed we and again complement what Blade already said as well. We need to make we believe that innovation comes from everywhere, right? From the company. So we really can have ideas and you can collect ideas and so on. But people sometimes they believe that innovation is just the chaos, right? So someone is going to throw an idea and then suddenly this will become a product or this will become a new process or whatever. And the thing is that we need to create somehow a framework to really make sure that we have the right people that are the ones that already knows how to really tackle the problems within like more a framework. But also we need to make sure that we open space to the organization to talk about specifics, because we know that there is specialized business people that they have problems, but they never are able to talk to someone that will solve this kind of problem. We know that the patients, sometimes they have problems that we are not necessarily like in the field knowing what's happening to bring this for us to build up like new solutions. So what we really try to make sure is that somehow you have a framework, somehow you have these people in a place that they are allocated in the purpose that they will serve most effectively. We need to have this kind of trainings to make sure that you foster innovation within the company. And you have to rely on partners as well to make sure that we are going to build something together. We saw that during, again, coming back to the COVID-19 example that Gustavo was talking about, we saw a lot of telehealth like skyrocketing, right? This is an innovation that was there, that we knew that it was possible to do, but nobody was using because you are so used to face-to-face appointments with your doctor. So why are you going to have this kind of telemedicine? Doesn't make sense, right? And nowadays, everybody's now saying, okay, why can't I just have telemedicine and just go face-to-face when really needed? Other things that you can have in your house, in the comfort of your house, that you're not necessarily need to go to the hospital. Everybody knows the drill of going to a hospital to kind of getting to know your data is something that is always missing. We don't have, like in Brazil, for example, the same concept that you have here in the US of the family doctor, that you have someone having the trace of your health during the path of your life. We don't have that in Brazil. We go to multiple doctors and the data in different hospitals, in different labs, they are not connecting. So then coming back to the execution, the operational, the innovative people that we have in the company, we need to make sure that people are looking at these problems in the most efficient way, trying to solve these problems, but executing this in a very good way as well. So innovation is not just about having an idea and that's it. So we need to make sure that we put this into action. It's just not having the ideas to how to execute the idea in the most efficient way. And then to finalize is what I was talking about. We can do this internally, externally with partnerships. And I believe that's pretty much what Gustavo said in the beginning as well, like how we are partnering, how we are learning from each other, and what Blade was talking about, how we teach people in the organization to be able to do that into a framework that's gonna succeed. At the end, it's about success as well.
Well, that is a great comment, actually, and you guys brought some really interesting points that I would like also to comment on. And you guys said that we are learning on the process. We're trying to understand how does that work? How does the partnership works? How does it works to work with different people with different backgrounds? And one of the ideas that you guys also brought was the idea that the innovation comes from every part of the company. And so far, we need to develop a framework to deal with that. So my question is how to deal with these kinds of uncertainty coming from everywhere of the company. And especially when we deal with we deal with health systems in a role that we know that it's difficult to speak the same language as the doctors, as the physicians, as the guys working on the front end of the health systems, because it's difficult to speak about the diseases, to speak about the patients without being the doctor. So it has also a part related with being or not being a medical person. But how can we deal with this uncertainty? How can we break this barrier and speak the same languages as the ones we didn't speak? And I would like also to ask Blake to jump in this discussion. to jump in some ideas on how to deal with this uncertainty and how to deal with these different stakeholders' expectations. So how we deal with that, especially in the health system, there is we know there's a ego space and it is complicated to deal with that.
Who do you want to start?
Just an easy question.
Who should start?
You can start.
Me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I've got a hammer, so everything's a nail. And I think that there's, the awareness building part is really important. If you don't build awareness in the organization, that innovation is critical. And what innovation actually is, you're not going to get motion that way. We recently did training for a bank in Colombia. And we had the CEO there, middle-level employees, junior employees. We had people from the product organization, digital products, as well as legal, compliance, HR, all across the organization who are senior, middle, and junior. That cross-section means everybody in every organization will have somebody who went to this class. And as a result, they're becoming aware that it's important. The CEO believes in it. They believe in this process, that it becomes now very acceptable to challenge what the CEO says. I want to do this. Well, you told us it's okay to ask questions and challenge it. So we're going to do that. And he'll say, okay, you're right. So let's think through that. And because they have a framework to do it, they can be more effective. So I think getting people aware of what innovation is and to have a agreed upon definition of how you're going to do it at your company and why you're doing it, and that anybody can do it. It's not that you need to have a special group. You might have a special group who's looking ahead. Like, yeah, these people are thinking about technologies and ideas that aren't ready for us to do anything with now. That's a special group doing that. But they're not the only innovative ones. Everyone can be innovative. And to put that in culturally requires education. Webinars, in-person classes, things like that. And if you have the leaders doing it as well, then people who are more junior will feel like they can do it and should do it. And when you have people who are doing it in legal, as well as marketing and HR, they're not just in finance, you'd be surprised how they can help. The lawyers or the finance department often stops things. No, we're not allowed to do it this way. Nope, we can't afford to do it this way. It doesn't work for our finance systems. But at good companies, they say to the lawyers early, hey, can you give us some insight? And lawyers are trained thinkers. Lawyers are trained to think critically, as are accountants. Really good accountants don't just move numbers around a spreadsheet, they think critically. Those people are very valuable because if you bring them in early on, they can help you think critically to be successful because they can understand your vision. You bring them in later on, they don't understand the vision. They're just there to say no, look for risk, and say we can't do it. And the CEO goes, I guess we're not going to do it. So bringing different parts of the organization along that you wouldn't think would be important to innovation is really important.
Yeah, I can try to address the point that you, Luis, was mentioning about how to speak to the doctor, for example, not being a doctor, being an IT guy, for example. So Luis and his team, they are having a very good, very important role in this process because they are IT guys in Johnson & Johnson, for example, that they are like a layer for us. So this helps a lot. So they understand what the doctors want and we have this layer there. But this is not enough for us. So also for this consultancy job that we are doing, TCS is doing for J&J, some other customers also, we have hired some doctors from the market, and now TCS has some doctors in order to discuss health problems and etc. Since they are doing a consultancy job that needs to be a doctor, that needs to be a health guy. So I'm not sure if I addressed these points, but for the IT side, Luis and the IT guys are doing a very important layer for us. So they help us to understand the demands from the business, from the doctors, from the health guys. And on the other hand, we have hired some doctors in order to help us in this process. Not sure if I addressed the question, but
yeah, no,
that's right.
it was great actually. So, Luis, do you have any? Should you jump in the discussion? I think you have really great points also too.
No, I think pretty much again everything was said. I think just to and again just don't to avoid repeating. I think again I think this is a continuous improvement and it's something that you need consistency. You need to make sure that you create such a framework that the organization understands and that we are able to really put this into a perspective for the key stakeholders, what is short, mid, and long term. And there is things that we don't even know the term, right? And the short, mid, and long term can vary depending on the organization that you are, depending on the sector that you are. For me, moving from a CPG to a pharma, the timeline is completely different. But again, I really believe that we are trying to connect the dots here to make sure that from what Blade explained to what Gustavo was talking about, so we really touch bases within academia, industry, and all the collaboration that we can have. Again, just a final comment on that is just to make sure that everybody that's hearing us understands that innovation is not only about is not about. Sometimes people think that's just someone who woke up like in the morning and had an idea, and because of that something's gonna happen. It's not about that. We really need to make sure that we have the right framework, the right understanding, the right testing, and then up to scale takes time. So it's not something that is one day to another. It's not something that someone just woke up and said, okay, I have a brilliant idea, let's do that. It doesn't work like this.
Perfect. So before we move on to the next questions, and I do have a lot of my own questions here, I would like to open for questions from the audience. So does anyone here has any questions? And also on online, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type in the YouTube channel, and then we're gonna read it and ask the questions. Does anyone here has any question? So,
everybody can hear me?
maybe
Yes.
you need the microphone. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, hi. So my name is Juliana. I work in the innovation sector of the biggest public hospital in Latin America. I'm here with Natalia, my colleague. And hearing you guys, it was really special because we deal with a lot of challenges in the hospital. It's the Hospital das Clínicas here in São Paulo. I want to ask you, I don't know if Blade or Luis Wilson, they can answer this, but do you believe that there's a profile to be an entrepreneur in the health sector? Because back in the hospital, we are dealing with doctors, and doctors with 30 years of career, and they attend in the public health system, and they have an idea, they have a product, they want to create a device or a software, and we teach them how to do it, to validate the problem and everything. But we're talking about complex problems and to deal with regulatory agencies and bureaucracy. So my question is there a profile to be an entrepreneur in the health sector?
Do you mean, is there a profile of someone, if you were to evaluate them, you'd say, yeah, you can do it, you can't do it, you can do it, you can't? Or
yes, kind of, because when we are talking about the entrepreneurial mindset, maybe doctors or nurses, they don't have this mindset. People don't teach them in university and etc. Even in their local of work.
No, there's no profile like that. Anybody can learn to become entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial with a set of skills and the desire to do so. You need to want to work at something and create something. So maybe that's part of the profile. If you want to do it, then you just need to learn the skills or know what skills you lack and find other people who are strong with those skills, who understand your vision to work with you. Not any one person has everything they need. Steve Jobs couldn't do anything by himself. He needed other people like Steve Wozniak around. There's no one profile. And these skills are teachable. You know, we teach them at MIT to our students, and there's entrepreneurship classes that are different than the innovation classes, because it's taking an idea and then bringing it to other people in a different way. To be able to productize an idea is a skill. No, there are amazing doctors and there are terrible doctors. Most surgeons are simply mechanics. They're mechanics that work on a person instead of a car. And I want them to be mechanics. I don't need them to be nice. I want them to be effective and know what to do to fix my body. But it doesn't mean that anybody can't have an idea or see an opportunity to say, what if I just did this thing this way? Oh boy, that's really much more valuable. How would I test that? I'd 3D print the part. Oh, I wonder if someone else would like it. I give it to them too. Oh, they love it. They want some more of it. Well, how do I get it to all the people who need it? Okay, how do I make sure it's safe? Like, all these things are just different parts of the evolution. And education will teach them the techniques they need to know to reduce the uncertainty of how to execute successfully. And if you want to, you can do it. The French have a great expression: vouloir, c'est pouvoir. To want is to be able. And if you really want to do it, then the right way is to acquire the skills of invention, of leadership, of entrepreneurship, and to be guided through that process, to be able to take your idea, balance out what you are not good at with the strengths of other people, to mitigate your weaknesses, and to develop skills like courage and advocacy and making decisions in the face of uncertainty and recognizing the paradox and a few other leadership skills that are so crucial.
Just to complement, like one quick thing, I think based on your comments as well, so everything that Blade said, 100% agree. Just to add on your comments about physicians having 30 years and more, I think you are in a good spot right now, because the shift of generation, the new doctors that are coming and so on, they are the ones that are already digital native, right? So if you think about the digital platforms, everything that you can do, I think you are in a good spot to think about entrepreneurship right now in this area. So I would recommend to really, as a specialized person that works with that knows the problems, that knows like what are the things that people are complaining about. There is several areas that you can tackle, and maybe because of the shift is the right moment to really step in and accelerate that.
Yeah, I agree with both, actually, 100% also. And what Luis was mentioning right now, that there are some doctors with different mindset already. So I think a good combination between them. So the old school, I would say, the old school, and the new generation, I think it's a good point to address this good combination. How we can do then work together. So I think it's the key, but of course I agree 100% with them. So
it's funny because just a comment, the doctors, usually when you talk about, sorry. Hi. It's funny, just a comment, because when you talk with doctors or nurses and say, oh, there's this entrepreneurship course and everything, they are really scared about entrepreneurship and innovation. It's like they are freaking out about this, but I don't have a startup. I don't want to be a businessman. Okay, but you have an idea, you deal with this problem, and you can create something. So that's the turning point for the mindset. So thank you.
Well, some of them may want to be inventors and not innovators. Some of them may want to come up with ideas and provide them. But if they said they don't want to be a business, then they may not be a good innovator, because often you have to do a lot of that hard work of saying, okay, we need to get some funding to develop something. And that's hard to do and takes time away from the stuff that you really want to do, that you're good at. A lot of my students who go on to form very, very large, successful companies, and many of them have, they sell for, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. They do it, but it takes a while, because they have to get away from the stuff they love to do. And they have to be willing to do that in order to get their vision achieved. Some are more natural at it than others. So if you have an inventor who doesn't want to be an innovator or an entrepreneur, then pairing them up with someone who does can be very useful. And you can remove that anxiety. You can also tell them it's a structured approach. It's not just having to feel a certain way or use yellow stickies. There's structure, and you can learn it. It's a skill and you can learn a little bit of the skill to become a little more effective, or a lot of the skill to become massively more effective. And you can choose how much you want to do, like learning to cook. I can make you learn to microwave a meal, or I can teach you how to make something simple like omelets, or to make something more complex like beef Wellington. And depending on where you want to go with your cooking, we can just stop there. So a little bit of work can give you a lot of value.
If I can complement. Hello, if I can complement, we have a scenario in Israel that they have a lot of university researchers, and the researchers, they want to be a researcher and inventors. They don't want to be innovators or as businessmen. So they create a lot of the technology transfer offers, and these TTOs, they do the business model for the inventor. So the inventor choose if he wants to move on in the business or not, just to sell the patent or to be in the board of the company. So it's a choice for them. So you can be this TTO, a kind of this model for the doctor to be an inventor, to be a doctor, and be the member of the board, but not to be the businessman. No, so it can be alternative for this.
Great. Do we have another question online? Anyone has a question?
I have another question. If anyone
You can do it.
won't ask him.
So let's go for these questions. Then I have another one to close the panel, the seminar actually.
Yeah, it's really similar with the last one, but so if I have anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur in the health sector, in the health area, how to keep, we said much about consistency, how to keep this entrepreneur motivated and keep the consistency during this journey, because when you're talking about the health sector, we're dealing with much complex problems, we're dealing with much bureaucracy, and it's really difficult. So how to keep this, how to keep him in the trial?
For me, from my perspective, small wins, lots of small wins. If I feel like I'm not making progress and it's been 3 months and I try and try and try, my motivation goes down. So look for small wins and celebrate small wins. You said you were going to talk to 4 people. You talked to 5 people. That's a win. What did you learn from them? Oh, we learned this stuff. Great. That's a win. How does that inform your next decision? That's a win. All these little small things along the way that don't look like I succeeded. You have to celebrate the small wins and look for those and create the opportunities even when they're not there. You have to create the opportunities to have a win, because that will keep people motivated and energized, and the energy will carry that passion forward.
Yeah, same thing. Totally agree. Like we need to have celebrate small victories, make sure that you create a clear roadmap where you want to go. Sometimes you have to pivot, but even though it's like a small win, like Blade's talking about, so we know that there is a lot of bureaucracy, and depending on the country, there is more or less. We are facing now a lot of issues regarding data. There is a lot of things that the governments are asking, and on the other end, there is a lot of things that the governments are taking out as barriers. So I think we need to understand first the environment, really understand where we are going, and setting up ourselves, mitigating whatever we know that's a threat, right? So try to mitigate whatever threat you already know that are the no's, because there is a lot of unknowns, and celebrate the small wins, like Blade's talking about.
Bring into the organization. I agree with Blade and Luis, of course, but bring into the organization. Everything is new inside the organization needs a sponsor, someone who believes in that thing, innovation or whatever. So if you have a sponsor, probably you'll succeed. If not, it's more complicated. But I think it's 5 cents that I can give you about the sponsor, about how to do this progressing in the company.
So regarding this point, Gustavo, I have actually one question that is open to everyone, but I think maybe you can start because you were already mentioning that. It's about what I like to call the Lion King or the Simba principle. I laugh in the face of danger. So how can we actually deal with this psychological safety that Blade told us that composes the innovation culture, and how can we manage to have an employee that succeeds to face this space and to fail with or has the impact to fail without losing its job or without being laughed at, and how to deal with that inside the company and with the surroundings of the company.
Yeah. Again, I'm being repetitive, I think, but we need to deal with diversity in any place, right? So we need to deal with diversity, and that if you work with different people, probably failure will not be a fail. So we can handle better these kind of things, and that psychologically, different word. We will not have so much impact, actually. So from my point of view, I think we need to deal with diversity in order to deal better with the failure that someone can have. I think this is my point of view. Great.
Luis, Blade, would you like to jump in?
About a failure?
Yes, about the psychological safety. So how to deal with psychological safety and laugh in the face of danger. So how do we do that in the company?
All right. This is a leadership skill called courage. Courage. You need courage to be able to move forward. And you need to realize that the idea of failure is always far worse than actual failure. Anyone who's ever thought, oh, I don't know, if I don't get into school, what am I going to do? If they don't like me, what am I going to do? If I don't get this job, what am I going to do? The idea of failure is always worse than actually failing. That's the first thing. The second thing is courage. I had a former student who has a company now. He's doing some very advanced technology. He can create fuel out of these balls of metal that become hydrogen, and then they become balls of metal again, and it's repeated, and it's green, it's amazing. Some basic research he did at MIT is becoming big. But he has an issue where one of his early customers is asking for a huge delivery, and he's like, they said they want it in writing. And it's really complex for him to describe everything. We spent a while on the phone yesterday where he's describing his whole letter. It must have been 2 pages long. But all it needs to be is, oh, if you want to do that, it's going to cost you more. And he was afraid to just say that, to think it even. The courage often has to do with allowing yourself to think something, even if you're not going to do it. Then he needed the courage to just say, okay, of all this work, I just have to pick the 2 or 3 sentences that were important to honestly and completely convey the idea so they know why it's going to be expensive. And then he did it. And today he sent off the email. He was very nervous. And he said to me, and I quote, this is right before we started the call, "Does this get easier?" I said, yes, of course. The first time is always hard. And the next time becomes easier and easier still. Then you take on a new challenge, and that's hard. And it becomes easier and easier still. It's like we do our whole lives. The first time you have to learn how to write. The first time you have to learn how to ride a bicycle. It's hard, and it becomes easier and easier. And then you get to develop new skills on top of that. Courage is the thing that people need to be able to develop, and resiliency, because they need to believe that actually failing is never as bad as what they imagine in their head it's going to be like.
Yes, I'm just gonna add with one because again, everything was said. Like there is a book that I was reading some other day that is from Rita McGrath, Seeing Around Corners, and she talks about seeing around corners, right? So how you can capture the signals that sometimes are weak, but that sometimes are there. So when you think about strengthening the mentality and making sure that people are getting this courage that Blade is talking about is about sometimes preparation, right? It's not about just surprise, but you need to have courage. And if you fail, you need to have the resilience to go and do it again. So most of the entrepreneurs, they don't succeed in the first journey. So you guys can read about any of the big ones. They never succeed in the first trial. And sometimes they are trying to do something, they starting doing something else because they pivot in the middle of the idea. So what I would say is there is tons of things that people can prepare, but of course they don't know sometimes hit you hard. Mike Tyson, I guess, said something about that. It's a brilliant quote about someone that was preparing. He said, yes, everybody's prepared until you have a punch in your face. So again, I think you have to prepare, but the unknown always is there, and you need to be prepared and having the resilience that Blade talks about.
Great, wonderful. I think that that is a wonderful way to say thank you very much, guys, for your presence here. It was amazing to discuss the idea of culture of innovation in different companies as Tata and Johnson, big tech companies and health companies working together to promote innovation and to bring new products and new ideas to the world. So again, thank you very much for your job to help us have a healthier life. So especially we have here people from hospitals who consume your products. So it's amazing to have you all connected here in the same room. Also, thank you very much, Blade, for being here. It's always a pleasure to hear you speaking. I am a big fan of Blade, so I've been following him from different years. And how is Timber? So he has a really amazing dog and do amazing things. So it's wonderful. So I hope Timber is well. How is he?
Yeah, he's good. He was just taking a little rest. He's so cute, and he's just out with his dog walker now, and that's what he looks like. Yeah, I have the cutest dog in the world, and he's really quite amazing. Like that. When he's sleeping, he reaches his hand out to touch my hand. Yeah, so that's that. My dog is great. Thank you for asking.
So perfect, and all of you guys, thank you here very much. We are gonna have a section this afternoon discussing how we move forward these new ideas and these new innovation concepts into precision medicine, and how can we use that in daily basis, and how can we evolve that both to the universal health system here in Brazil, but also in big tech companies and big private hospitals here in Brazil. And thank you again very, very much for all of you. Thank you, Gustavo, for being here. And also Luis and Blade, thank you very much. And I also would like to thank Professor Andre. He had a little unexpected problem with his power, but he's also listening probably on YouTube. I'm gonna watch this later. So thank you very much, Andre, for helping me, for being part of the connection and the construction of this seminar. And also thank you for the team present here. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again in this afternoon. And thank you very much, guys, again.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Vamos almoçar? Vamos.